My previous wife and I divorced about 2 years ago. It was a lot, and took me a lot of time to finally start to get back into the dating scene. Handling the divorce itself, while also trying to take care of our 2 kids, wasn't easy. I started going out with a woman from my area, and eventually it got to the point where we started dating. She was nice, and it was good to finally have a significant other in my life again. Things went pretty well for the first couple of months. I started noticing little changes in her behavior though. She was becoming controlling and would even be upset when I wanted to spend time with my kids. It was as if she expected us to be together all the time when we weren't working. Because of this, and a few other reasons I won't get into, I ended up breaking up with her after only 3 months. It wasn't worth my time and energy at that point. I had my job to focus on, as well as my kids. The breakup was filled with a lot of yelling. I just didn't want to deal with it anymore. It was feeling like my divorce all over again, and that's exactly what I was trying to avoid. I was trying to move on from the whole thing, and just get back to my life. In the days after the breakup, I probably got about 100 texts per day from her, no joke. I got tired of it and just figured I'd block the number. I thought that was going to be the end of it. A couple of weeks went by and I didn't hear anything from her. Usually me or my ex-wife would pick up our kids from school. It was my day to do it, but I ended up getting tied up at work, so they had to wait at school for a little bit. I had no one else to call to come pick them up. I was about an hour late. When I got to the school, one of the teachers told me some lady came by and said she was the children's mother and that she was there to pick them up. My kids obviously denied this. I was confused, so I asked her to describe this woman. The description matched with the woman I had just broken up with. I was in a state of shock and anger. Fortunately, my kids didn't go along with her lies. I don't know what she could have possibly been thinking. Trying to get my kids involved with this situation was definitely way past the line. It's worth noting that my kids weren't really aware that I had been dating someone. I kept it to myself for the most part, and they weren't around too much when all this was going on. My ex knew I had kids though, and at some point I must have mentioned where they went to school. I don't even want to think about what could have happened if they went with her. This whole thing really opened my eyes that I need to be careful about who I associate with. You never know to what extremes some people are actually willing to go to. Last year, when I was a junior in high school, I dated this boy named Caleb. He was exactly my type. Tall, with long black hair. I'd had a crush on him for a couple years. We even had a few classes together that year, and so we started talking a little more. We started hanging out and eventually dating. Everything was good for the most part at the beginning. Our relationship was far from perfect though. He would get super jealous when I would talk to some of my other guy friends. Apparently at one point, he even told one of my friends to stop talking to me because we were dating. The red flags just started there. As time went on, he became even more controlling, and I couldn't handle it anymore. It just wasn't worth it. I ended up breaking up with him, and we had only been going out for barely 2 months. It was super awkward since we still had 2 classes together. Maybe I was just imagining it, but every day I felt like he was staring me down in class. I was definitely intentionally avoiding him in class and throughout the school in general. A couple weeks went by of this, and one day I got a text from this guy. I hadn't blocked his number because at the time I just didn't see a need to. He was wanting to get back together and claimed that he wasn't going to be as controlling anymore. I knew he was lying though, so I shut him down, and this time I finally blocked him on everything. He didn't like that at all though. He started spreading rumors about me at school that just weren't true at all. It was really getting on my nerves, so I approached him about it one day, and basically told him to quit acting so immature about the whole thing. He just rolled his eyes and walked away from me. I was so mad, but there wasn't a whole lot I could do about it. Later that night, I was watching TV in the living room at my house. It was Friday night, so it was pretty late. I usually like to stay up pretty late on the weekends. The rest of my family was already asleep, so I was the only one up. I could hear faint footsteps coming from the deck outside. The deck is attached to the kitchen, which is right next to the living room. It was so obvious what the sound was. I've heard it so many times since I've lived in this house. All the blinds on the windows by the deck were shut, so I couldn't see who was out there. Obviously, no one should have been out there at this hour anyways. I went and woke up my dad because I was admittedly a little scared. He went into the kitchen, turned on the outside light to the deck, and stepped out. There was no one out there, at least not within the visibility of the light. I think my dad believed me though, because he ended up spending the rest of the night on the couch downstairs. I just went to bed after that. The next morning, I woke up and saw something out of the corner of my eye on the window. There was a sticky note taped on it. I got out of bed and walked over to the window. It in fact was a sticky note, and it had, "Don't forget, I know where you live," written on it. I recognized the handwriting. There was no doubt it was my ex-boyfriend who had placed it there. I showed my dad, who called the police and contacted the school about it. They said they would do an investigation and took the sticky note with them as evidence. The footsteps on the deck now made complete sense. After this, I actually never saw Caleb back at school. I'm not exactly sure what happened. I think his family probably moved away or something, because we were never notified of any arrest or anything made by the police. I'm just glad that I didn't have to deal with him anymore. I dated this one girl back when I was in college. It had its perks at times, but she was just too high maintenance for me. I was trying to deal with school, work, and I had other friends I wanted to spend time with as well. I had my own apartment at the time. I was fortunate enough that my parents were helping pay for some of the rent. This will be important later on in the story. Anyways, after me and my girlfriend broke up, I just blocked her on everything. I didn't think it was a super bad breakup. I just thought it would be in my best interest to cut all contact with her from this point on. One night, I was out at a restaurant with some friends. I saw that my ex was there as well, and we even made eye contact. It was really awkward to say the least. I tried to ignore her as best as I could, but it was really hard given the circumstances. I should have known I'd see her at some point around town. We both went to the same school after all. After we ate, I went back to one of my friends' houses to just chill with some people for a couple hours. I got home and it was pretty late, maybe 11 p.m. I walked inside and threw my keys down on the table, just ready for a shower and then to go to bed. I flicked on the lights in my bedroom and found my ex-girlfriend sitting on my bed facing the door. I nearly had a heart attack. I was definitely not expecting anyone to be there. I shut the door real quick and went back out into the apartment hallway. I called my buddy, who only lives a few doors down, and told him what was going on. He came out and walked back into my apartment with me. I opened the bedroom door again slowly, and she was still sitting there on my bed. She wasn't saying anything, she was just sitting there. I'm pretty sure she was really drunk or on some other kind of drugs. She did not seem at all there. I didn't want to try and fight with her or drag her out of my apartment or anything like that. I had one of her roommate's phone numbers still. I called her and told her to come to my place and to come get her. Her roommate showed up about 15 minutes later. My ex was still sitting on my bed. Her roommate came in and basically had to carry her out of my apartment and down the elevator to her car. I told her roommate that if this happens again, that I was going to have to call the police and let them handle it. She just said okay and then left. I went back upstairs and looked around a bit to see if anything was stolen or messed with in any way. It didn't appear to be, though. I noticed something on my bed right where she had been sitting, though. It was a key to my apartment. I forgot. Back when we were dating, I had given her a key to my place. I felt like a complete idiot. I totally forgot that she had it, and didn't even think about getting it back when we broke up. Fortunately now, I had it, so she couldn't get back in. I know that this event was preventable if I didn't give her a key in the first place, but I wasn't thinking something like this could happen. I wish I had gotten a picture, cause it was extremely creepy. She was definitely not at all there. I didn't see her at all the rest of my time in college, and have since moved to a different city after graduating.